Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to Dose of Reality with Shukri. Today we have a great guest, and I'm sure some of you are in Facebook and logged in to watch us and discussion of COVID community, Somali community with COVID-19 and how we are doing each week, and just talking about our safety. Are we keeping distance? Are we being safe? Are we washing our hands every time? So I'm gonna allow our guests to introduce themselves, and I after that we will start the conversation of how we are doing. This is the best part of Dose of Reality because we're keeping in touch with everyone in our community, especially Somali community. So I will go ahead and give time to our guests to introduce themselves. We'll start with Naima Dore.
Assalamu alaikum. Hello, everyone. My name is Naima, and I am a certified organic farmer in the Twin Cities. And I hope to produce some amazing, yummy vegetables for the community, specifically for the elders this summer.
Thank you, Naima. I really appreciate the introduction. We will go for Severina, who will go ahead and introduce herself and tell us what she does also and what she will be doing today. Hi, Severina. Can you hear me? Are you there? Severina?
Let me unmute.
Okay.
Okay, my name is Severina. I'm from Wichita, Kansas. I'm a student at Wichita State University pursuing doctoral program in educational psychology. And I come from Kenya, the northern part of Kenya, Samburu County.
Yeah, welcome.
And I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Next, I will have Isaac Roble. Isaac Roble, could you go ahead and introduce yourself? Isaac, can you hear me?
Hello. Sorry, I have to unmute myself.
It's okay.
Uh,
Welcome
my
to
name
Dose
is
of
Isaac.
Reality.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. My name is Isaac Roble. I'm from Bloomington, Minnesota. I'm a community health specialist, and that's basically my profession when I'm talking about this topic of community health issues and COVID-19. I'm also a small business owner, a father, and a longtime resident of this great state of Minnesota.
Okay. Thank you so much, Isaac, for joining us today. We'll go ahead and have Zakaria Abukar to unmute himself and introduce yourself, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum
Can you hear
salam.
me? Can you guys see me okay?
Yeah, we can.
Perfect. Guys, thank you so much. Obviously, Shukri for having us all on the show. My name is Zakaria Bukar. I am a resident of Eden Prairie, Minnesota, all the way out here. I work in public relations, consulting, and coaching, just showing people how to utilize different mediums to get their word out there as a brand, as a business owner, and really just trying to educate folks. Public education is my passion, by the way. So just educating people on what we can do better to take care of ourselves and be a better neighbor to one another, especially in these trying times. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome, Zakaria. All right, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for the beautiful introduction. So the reason why we are here again was always to keep in touch within a week base of a weekend, and we will be talking about how are we doing as a community. What advices do you have for the community? What thoughts do you have for the community? How are you coping with the quarantine at home? We want to hear everything that you have that will benefit our people, our elderly, our friends, our family, and those who are home and they're joining in tonight, this evening today, and watching us in our social media. They just want to talk and get ideas. If they have any question, please go ahead and send in. We're checking all the questions in, and all the guests will be able to answer. Naima daughter will be able to tell us, since she's a farmer, what has affected her due to the fact that she has to stay home. All these amazing things that we want to hear and get ideas. And it's okay to be frustrated always again, because we are not used to this lifestyle, but we have to get used to it because we have to save lives being home. What are the five key things that we have to focus on that I am creating? Is like, everybody should be aware that we have to stay home. We have to keep washing our hands. We have to keep a distance. We got to cover our cough. And if you're sick and you are really sick, you call your doctor or go to the hospital. Isolate yourself. So we just want to get ideas, and this will be continuing until further notice, until we are safe to be going outside. Those of reality will be holding families, friends, community activists, and people like that to advise our community and making sure that everyone is keeping safe. So I'll go ahead and just allow everyone to be able to talk and discuss their ideas, how people to be safe. And as much as I mentioned, go ahead, guys, and let's discuss. So I know I talked to Zakaria, and we were talking about community, the importance of how to be safe. Zakaria, could you go ahead and tell us a little bit what you think about how this is affecting our community and how we can be successful on this?
Yeah, obviously, economically, it's affecting us. A lot of us are not going to work and working. So it really is up to all of us to take care of one another and be a better neighbor. I can go a little bit deeper into that later. But so economically, it's affecting us. From a health standpoint, it's affecting all of us. It's being a little bit safer, more conscious of, am I washing my hands enough? Am I covering up, my cough? My daughter, she's so funny. I'm trying to teach her this.
Mm.
She's having a hard time coping with, like, we can't go, to the playground. We can't go to the parks. We can't go to the mall. We can't go to, large spaces where people can gather. And
It's being a
it's a
little bit
hard.
more conscious
There's
I'm
of
there's a
sorry.
feedback here.
am I
Oh, it's
washing
okay.
my hands enough?
I think
Am I covering up, my cough?
my other
My daughter,
system
she's so
opened
funny.
up.
I'm
Sorry.
trying.
Okay, go
Oh,
ahead.
that's all right. But yeah, so she's having a hard time with it. So I'm sure, the kids right now, they're just at home just asking all these questions. Why, mom? Why, dad? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? But it is for all of our safety so that we don't spread this further. Obviously, we'd all like to be out and about, especially with summertime coming up. The beaches are closed, the parks are closed. So it's for everybody's safety. So the quicker that we can all adapt to these measures, the
Mhm.
better for all of us ultimately. So we're not having to stay indoors for too long. But like I said, wash your hands, cover up these coughs. Socially distance yourself from other human beings. Even when you're in the grocery store, I've been having a hard time with that because I'm a social person, right? So once I'm in the grocery store, I don't really say hi or anything. I give everybody a smile and a nod.
Mhm.
Everybody understands, I can't shake your hand. I can't give you a hug. I can't, get close to you, and it's difficult for people like myself that are social, but just keep your distance, cover up those coughs, do everything that we're supposed to do to make sure that we're all indoors for as little as possible. They're asking for a few months, so mind your P's and Q's, let's this is kindergarten, right? Follow
Yeah.
the directions.
Good. Thank you so much, Zach. You guys here, if you see someone who is so open minded like Zakaria, friendly, and you know him, he is keeping his distance. He's making sure that you're safe. So remember, even if it's someone you want to keep that distance, and no hard feelings, you just say hi. Make sure that, hey, I know what's going on. It's no hard feelings. So let's keep going on and keep that routine going on. Okay. So we'll go ahead for Naima Dore. Naima Dore, tell me how you feel the fact that you have to stay home and not go to the farm. Or when you're going to the farm, what are the routine things that you're doing? And then just tell us a little bit how you feel being in this situation of quarantine.
Yeah, I mean, I think this season I am not farming big scale. However, my goal was to do three different sites to work with the elders and the youth and do some programming. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen too. But the good news is I will continue on a smaller scale to do some garden and produce vegetables for the elders. And honestly, I feel like we all have to comply with the rules in terms of staying home and keeping distance. I think it's really important to utilize your space. So if you are a homeowner or live in a house or a space where you're able to grow food, on a garden, and if you don't know, it's okay because we all start from somewhere. So like YouTubing was, something that I've been doing for years and continue to do in terms of just learning new skills of how to garden and even if you don't live in a home that has a garden, I was growing food inside my apartment,
Oh,
in my bathroom. I share that story all the time, to kind of lift folks up and say, you don't need to have a big space or a garden, massive space. You could definitely do small. So this is a great opportunity for anyone that's interested in controlling and really learning where your fresh produce come from. Why not grow it yourself? Why not learn? There's simple YouTube tutorials that you could search, and we all have time now. If you're not doing anything more important, I think this is a great time to do that.
all right. Thank you so much, Naima. We really appreciate that. Now we are going for Isaac Roble. Isaac, tell us what you've been up to. Especially, I know you're so focused on the medical part. Tell us the news of what's going on and how people should be safe and how you're getting affected by being in quarantine. Go ahead and unmute yourself also and tell us a little bit more about that.
Again, thank you very much for the invitation, and it's a pleasure to be in the same platform with these folks.
Thank you.
It is definitely not okay, but there's always a saying of it's okay to not be okay, and it is temporary. So every challenging time passes by. You just have to keep up, be in shape, and stay focused. Uh, what I was doing as someone who has a large family in this state is warn my family members that this is a serious issue, and we don't want anybody getting sick in the hospital and not connecting with us. The worst stuff that you want to experience is your loved one being in the hospital and not being there for them. So you don't want to see your brother, your sister, your child, your spouse being hospitalized and disconnected from you just because uh, you have not been cautious. So it is very important to be cautious. And what you can do are those simple 5 steps of washing your hands, uh, staying 6 feet as much away as possible from folks, covering your mouth if you're coughing, sneezing, and using a mask. Even if you don't have a mask now, you can use cloth. And if possible, if you feel like fever, cough, or symptoms, try to isolate yourself from the rest of the family and stay in a quiet place if possible, taking care of yourself, eating, drinking, and remaining dehydrated. Uh, you can also do basic stuff that will be important to fight this virus,
Mhm.
which is saving, buying stuff that you will need, like Tylenol. People should not take ibuprofen because medical professionals have been advising people to not do that. But you can take Tylenol, and if you have fever, body ache, and so on, instead of going to the doctor,
Mhm.
you have to go to the doctor if you are really, really sick, because this is the tricky part. You can go to the doctor feeling a little bit of sore throat, a little bit of discomfort and headache and so on. You may not have uh, coronavirus, but because there's no testing at the hospitals across the metro, uh, there is lack of testing. There's not enough testing to test everybody. So when you go there, you have flu symptoms. There's a high chance that you have COVID-19. So they will ask you to isolate yourself. What can happen during that time you have been in the ED? Maybe you were sitting in a lobby with a lot of patients, some who had coronavirus. So you may have got sick from the ED and you're coming back home, isolating yourself. And 14 days later, you are out connecting with friends and family, uh, delivering stuff to them. And you may be a carrier. You may have the COVID-19 that you got from the ED. So people, young folks should go to the emergency if they are in a serious medical condition. Like if you really, really can't take care of yourself, if Tylenol, uh, drinking plenty of water and relaxing at home will not help you and you're having difficult breathing, then you should go to the emergency or call 911. Uh, but if you don't have those symptoms and you feel like it's just a little fever that you can manage at home, the hospital will uh, basically send you back home to take care of yourself unless you have to be hospitalized. It's good to avoid that encounter and not take the chances. So that's what I've been telling people. Um, Another advice I was given is families who are going through crisis, families who are facing the COVID-19 or losing loved ones or losing their jobs or their places of work or worship has been shut down. They should practice those daily routines at home. There is a lot of financial resources. Even talking to your telephone company, if you have T-Mobile, Sprint, Verizon, calling them and saying, "Hey, I don't have a job. My workplace has been shut down. What can I do with the bill that's coming this month?" I'm sure they will offer some relief. Some of them already made it public that they will offer some relief. So it's just a matter of call and letting them know that you can't afford to pay the bill. The same goes for your electric company. The same goes for your rental company. Some apartments, uh, properties are sharing ways that people can pay rent, including utilizing the security deposit. So call your property manager, call your apartments and ask them, "Hey, what options do you have if I can't pay the rent this month?" They may say, "Okay, we will use your security deposit and you can pay a little bit less than what you were supposed to pay." So there's some relief there for business owners. The state has some grants. The city of St. Paul and Minneapolis, they have some money. The federal money SBA loan is a bit tricky. It has some interest, but the city of St. Paul and the city of Minneapolis are offering interest-free uh, loans that you may have not, you don't have to repay back, or you don't have to worry about paying them back if you are qualified. So you have to meet certain criteria to qualify those loans for businesses. And then rental assistance, emergency assistance money is out there too. So just connect with people. If you want, you can message me, or if you want, you can message to the show and ask those information, or Google uh, relief, COVID-19 relief in my area, and you'll get information. Uh, Schools are offering free food. So if your family is suffering lack of food, don't be silent. Reach out to your school staff, your neighbors. There is a lot of free groceries, pre-cooked, fresh food. Really, we are taking care of our families, and that's what's good about Minnesota. Minnesotans usually get together and take care of each other,
Yes.
um, and that's what I love about this state.
Me too. So, Zach, just I'm sorry, Isaac, just to ask you a question. So, for these companies, like, let's say if I'm calling my apartment renter and I'm saying that with this situation, will they be allowed avoid me the late fees? Will the late fee be avoided due to the situation that we have? Could you answer that question for our audience?
I'm not sure for all the property companies, but I know some waiving. There's no late fees at all. If you cannot pay the rent at time, like the due date, they are not charging late fees. Most of the properties that I have seen so far. they are definitely they are actually encouraging that they can use your security deposit. So if you have $500 or $1,000 in security deposit with them, you can use that as the rent for next month or this month. And if your rent is 1,500, you can pay 500, and they can use your 1,000 to uh, uh, cover that missing piece. And the city and the state has money for rent assistance. Especially, I'm very positive about city of Minneapolis. They have money for rental assistance. St. Paul has money for 1,000 families, but you have to meet certain criteria. So just knocking all those doors will help you get some, buy some time, get some funds, gather some funds to use to cover unexpected expenses.
Mm-hmm.
If you have medical bill out there, just call the healthcare institution, Fairview, Lina, or Hannibin, whichever you got from, and tell them, hey, we are in the middle of a crisis and I can't pay this money. What should I do? Then they will give you some relief options and you will be able to utilize that.
Okay. And just another question for you. Are these places, are we allowing people to go there in person, or is there a connection with like phone calls, number, or how are they getting assisted?
It's just a matter of phone call. You just have to call the number. Uh, Even if you have a car financed through Wells Fargo, I know Wells Fargo has a 6 month relief. You don't have to pay 6 months, but eventually they will increase the finance period of your vehicle. So you don't have to pay now, but 6 months down the road you will still have to pay that money. So you will have time. You will buy some time and use that money for some other stuff.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Isaac. Now I'm gonna have Severina to tell us a discussion where we were most focused on the fact that, you know, we are all in United States, but we kind of have to remember what's happening back home. And Severina was concerned about the community that she's from back home in Africa, and she just wanted to give them some advice, and that she's aware of the things that they're going through. And she will go ahead and tell us a little bit of background where she's from, the issues that they used to have, and the issue that they may have that may make this more harder for them at the moment, and ideas that she can tell them how to be safe and how to manage life and this epidemic disease. So welcome, Severina, again, once again, and please tell us a little bit about your background or where you're from, and then a little bit of history for people to understand the issues that they have and how this is may affect them, and the advice that you have for them to make it different.
Oh, thank you so much, Shukri. And definitely, I'm from Samburu County, in Kenya, the northern part of Kenya. And it's a very, I can say, a semi-arid area. And from the community where I come from, the Samburu people, we really don't have like a lot of resources. And as we were speaking with you, because you've been there and you're from that place, we don't have enough resources. Just in case, God forbid, COVID virus go to that community or even the northern part of Kenya, it will be disastrous. We don't have like enough hospitals. We don't have water, tap to water. We don't have like food. We depend on our own animals like cows, goats, and camels. So you can imagine a very vulnerable community like that when they have a crisis like this.
Yes.
Because even right now, children are at home, parents are at home, those who are working, and they were not prepared for it. They were not prepared for these children to be at home. They were not prepared for their jobs just to be cut from nowhere. And our government is not like giving families money for upkeep or whatever, but then it will go back to the family. How are they going to put up with their children? How are they going to feed their children who have been like eating lunch, getting lunch from school and dinners from school? Those who are in boarding schools, they were being fed the whole semester. So right now, I think more of the mental health of the community, and even here in the United States, how people are really struggling to think about the direction where we are supposed to go. I'm imagining of a community whereby we have like around 1,000 people, and they only have one borehole of water. And
Wow.
so it's kind of very hard, because if you talk about washing your hands, using sanitizers. There are no sanitizers in our place. They even don't know. That is a vocabulary for them. If you tell them to wash your hands every other time you greet somebody, are they going to get water for drinking,
Oh,
cooking, or washing their hands? So that is kind of a challenge that we I think our people are facing right now, and they are so scared. You call them, and everybody's like, I don't know what we are going to do if this thing, coronavirus hit them. So I'm kind of really thinking about ourselves, and what we have to tell our people back at home. So my advice is, people who are in the United States, we have a lot of stuff going on right now. We have a lot of messages that people are giving to the communities. And we have a lot of messages in the social media. So we have to go back to ourselves. What kind of message are you going to give to your people? What kind of a message are you receiving yourself? Especially as a community person, as a person who values the mental health of other people, as a teacher, as a person who's gone to school, what kind of message are you giving to other people, especially the vulnerable communities, especially those people who are so desperate, who are so fearful of this thing? Other people even do not understand this kind of a virus. So some of them think that it's a flu, and so they ignore that part of it.
yeah,
So if our communities continue to ignore that part of it, what are we supposed to do?
that's true.
So I'm thinking of ourselves stepping up for them and tell them the reality. Just tell them what is happening. Tell them the truth, how this virus is bad, because it's very bad, and try to help them. Just that have positive kind of life. Because if they're not positive in their minds, then they'll definitely even die before the COVID virus gets onto them.
That's true.
Let's help them. Let's just motivate them. I was talking to one of my friends, and the normal routine that a person have been doing, waking up in the morning at 5, going to the gym, just those small things somebody have been doing as a routine in life. It's no more there. So what are we supposed to do? We have just to figure out on how we can be able to go on with life. Let's try not to share information that is not good to our community members. And above all, let's pray, because I believe in prayers. I believe that God is going to help us out, especially just to calm our nerves and calm our mental, status. Because if we calm down, we can be able even to do stuff. We can be able to think on how to take care of our children. Because right now, the older people are affected. Uh, I was talking to my mom, who is 80 years old, and she was telling me, "Oh, my daughter, I hear that disease will come and kill all of us." And I was talking to her, and I was telling her, "Mom, as much as the virus is killing a lot of older people, don't count yourself as one of them. Try to think positively. Try to think of something else. So let's try to help our communities think positively, and try to help them. Just calm down. It's so overwhelming. Losing jobs, having kids at home, the change of diet, because right now you go to the store and you need to buy something and you don't get it, you have to substitute and buy something else. And then when you take it to the house, the kids do not eat. I am imagining of a family that has 5 or 6 kids, and probably different, each child eat differently. So it's so overwhelming. And so my suggestion is that we have just to reduce, the messages that we receive, and even the TVs that kids see. Don't just like go there, CNN all the time, the way the death, toll is going up all the time. Just let's try to do some things that will help us as a community, just to calm down and make one step at a time every day, you know, because it's something very hard. And we were talking with you, and I remember telling you how sad I am that even our government back at home in Kenya, they are
Yes.
doing things like upside down. How can you just, like, tell people from evening, from 7 in the evening, you have to be in your houses? And I was thinking of these moms, the mamas who sell vegetables in the evening. That is when they are able to sell their products so that people can go back home and eat that. People who live hand to mouth, you have to sell something in the morning so that you can shop in the evening and go back home. So it's kind of so confusing. Let's just pray and help our people to live one day at a time and hope things will be fine.
Yes, and thank you so much, Severina. I really appreciate just to have a little bit of background back home.
Mhm.
The fact that we as Americans here, we're taking things so much in granted, where we
Mhm.
have everything. We're even getting
Yeah.
money from the government to support
Mhm.
us with the situations that we're going through. We have, like Isaac Robles mentioned, thanks to him, the fact that, oh, you know what, we can get our landlords, our phone companies to support us and wait for us to get to that point where we were able to go back paying our bills. And
Mhm.
guys, whoever is watching this, we don't have that options back home,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And imagine these people are being told to stay home on a certain time, knowing that they're not going to have food, they don't have water. We are focused on washing our hands how many times, and these people don't even have water to drink, which you have mentioned. And we're telling them isolation, and they still have to make a survival lifestyle where they have to sell vegetables so that they can make money and make food and stuff like that. Our countries are very corrupted, and I guess the only people that are going to try to make it easier and better and maybe to try to support them is us ourselves who are back here in United States. And the reason why I had you here mostly was to tell these people in United States and our friends and our family is that let's not take for granted what we have. We always have to think about the ones who are suffering more than us in this, trying to make a life out of one. And I'm so sorry your mother is very worried at this time of age, especially being told that elderly are the one who are getting it easier. um, what I wanted to advise my community is that, I at the beginning when this thing was started, I'll tell you a little bit of issue that happened to me. I work for federal office, and I'm dealing with a lot of clients. I see people who are coming out of the country. I was helping them, and all over a sudden I started coughing, and people in the office were like, "Oh my God, Shukri, do you have it? Do you have it?" And I was like, "No, I don't. I just think I have cold." And you know, since I was getting frustrated from my co-workers, and I was very nervous, and I got scared, and I questioned myself. This is a worry that everyone is like, "My God, why am I coughing? Why am I sneezing? Why am I feeling fever or something?" So I doubted myself, and I went to the clinic. And lucky me, it was the early times where people were not being restricted to go to the hospital. So I go there, and they tested me. Before they tested me, I just told them my symptoms and how I was feeling. And the doctor at the beginning, she came in, she didn't even wear the mask. We were just having conversation. And all of a sudden, I was just telling her symptoms. I guess she remembered about the COVID-19, and she's like, "You know what, Shukri, I'll be right back." She walks away, and she goes wear the mask and everything, and then she comes back and she tells me, we're going to do this test, and we're going to check you for coronavirus. And I'm like, "But why are we doing that? Because I think I'm fine." And you're in denial, you don't want to accept these things. And
Sure.
it's scary, it's fear that we all like, hey, we're not better than anybody, but we're just trying to tell people that, I don't think I have it. They took the test, and that is the most painful thing. They put it through your nose and in your ears. It was just horrible. I mean, I have three kids. I've never seen such a painful thing like that. I was telling my friend to stay home and scare them with that. That was one thing that kind of freaked me out. And then right away, they didn't have any test result, because they can't do it in the hospital. They have to send it to CDC. And they sent me home, and they wrote me a letter. I couldn't go to work, I couldn't see anybody. And I swear to God, within that 2 weeks, 14 days period that they were having, I was freaking out. I was so scared. I called my family. I'm like, "They think I may have it, but they think get the result, but I'm stuck at home. And it was just not fun. I had friends bringing me stuff and leaving it at my door because I couldn't even see them. So I really understand the frustration your mom could be going through.
Yeah.
And the hospital make it a little bit more tougher too, because I really freaked out. She went and started wearing all these things, and they leave me in the room for like hours, and I was freaking out. And when I was leaving, they were following the protocol that I could not even go through the same door I came through. I had to go through back door, and they had to call this security guards who were well all dressed. I'm telling you, I was in another level. But
Yeah.
I was so frustrated, and I was like, but my car is parked. At that moment I was frustrated, but then when I came home and watched news, and this thing started getting in my head, is like, really, it's a serious, it's a deadly disease, and how important it is for us to really understand it and kind of really follow this protocol and not feel like we are being put in a situation where we don't want to. So
Yeah.
I
So,
feel bad. Back home, people are suffering and they're going through so much. The government ain't making it easier for them, also. And I can tell that for sure. But let's pray for them. And the best thing we can do is to send as much message as possible, and to try as much as possible to help them, support them, and have our family and relatives and friends that are back home to find an idea of how they can help each other back home by keeping the distance, staying at home. I mean, financially, the government has to figure out what to do with them. We can help with that.
yeah.
So that is the things that I will advise my people back home. And I
Yeah,
really,
just something on that, Shukri.
yeah,
You talked about yourself and how
I felt.
frightened you are and how you felt. And there
Mhm,
was something came up as we were talking with my friends,
mhm.
and we discovered that normal things are not normal anymore.
Yes.
Like, the normal sneezing, the normal coughing, that it's very automatic. Like, as a human being, we cough, we sneeze, especially at this time whereby, like, we are in spring, and the weather is changing and all that. And people who have sinuses, or even who are allergic to this, to the to the petals and all that, uh, we have to sneeze, we have to cough at some point, but it's not normal anymore. And if you sneeze, everybody's looking at you as if they run away from you. We
Yeah.
run away from each other. So as much as we are talking about social distancing and just staying away from each other, the normal things are also making us even go drift away from each other. So how are we going to make sure that we bring back later on the normalcy of humanity? So that is kind of something that I've been thinking about, because everything is abnormal right now. You
That's true.
can't go to the store, no churches, no mosques, nothing. You're just there.
Yeah.
So we have also, as Zach said, we have to get mechanisms of, ways of worshiping, ways of just going on with our own normal lives, as much as we are worried, as much as we try to think about this thing, of this virus and the way it's killing a lot of people. But there is life to live. We have to be positive. We have to just think of something that will make us wake up the following morning knowing that you are a human being who needs to live.
Yes. I hear that Abdi Muse. Hi. Thank you for writing a question there. People back home may not abide by the guidance provided. What will be the way out? Could you answer that question before I go to the next guest that are here?
Okay, there are two different people
Mm-hmm.
in back home. We have people who live in the rural areas, and we have people in the urban areas.
Mm-hmm.
For example, people who live in Nairobi or in towns,
Mm-hmm.
most of them are ignorant. I can say that, because they are able to read and write, and they are able to know what is happening.
Mm-hmm.
They choose to just ignore the rules and ignore what the government tells them to do.
Mm-hmm. And are they not in
Why?
a surviving mode? They are trying to survive also. I want
Exactly.
to.
That is where I'm coming to.
Yeah.
And when the government tells them that you have to be at home and stay at home and quarantine, or not quarantine yourself, just being at home all the time. But then we also have to face the reality. Where were they going to get food? These are people who wake up in the morning, go to these small towns, do some odd jobs and go back and get something to eat. So it's really tough right now to our people, especially back at home, facing the reality of this thing and living their normal lives. And
Yes.
that is why we see, a clashback of police officers and Wananchi back at home, because our police officers follow the rule or the law that, the president has said everybody should be at home by 7 in the evening. But, most of our young people are coming from jobs at that time. Most of them go buy stuff in the evening because they've been working the whole day or something like that. So at some point, they they just misunderstand each other and they start fighting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Thank you so much.
people who are back at home in the villages, theirs is a little bit different because it's their normal life. Like in the evening, you have to be in your house and sleep. So it's not a big deal for them. The only issue with them is that we are told to stay at home and we are supposed to go look after our animals. We have to go look for, and be together, because in the villages, people come together for information and all that. And so that one also is killing the communal aspect of humanity that we have. So it's kind of a big shell that needs to be unpacked, and we see where we have to head.
So I like the fact that people are joining in and they're writing their questions and their idea thoughts. So I have Hassan Mahmoud who is saying they are not ignorant. They have to choose between two evil devils, catching virus or breadwinning for the family. We understand that, Hassan. Unfortunately, do you choose to die with a disease that will definitely kill you, or would you choose? Who is gonna answer that question between the rest of the guests that I have?
I just want to add a little bit to the comment of the sister
Yes.
before we go back to the comments. In
Mhm.
Africa, it's different from America. So I think the virus will not do well in Africa. People will be fine. I don't think we will have the chaos and disaster like the US or some European countries, thanks to our weather. We have a good weather in Africa, and coronavirus does not survive when the weather is hot. People should just do the basics. They should cover their mouth, and if they don't have water, that's something they should not worry about. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do, and if you can't do some stuff, you don't have to worry about. Uh, Being stressful and being worried about the virus is more traumatizing than actually having the virus. So if people understand that, hey, the weather back Africa is hot and humid uh, compared to America and Europe, they will say, okay, now I can social distance myself when I'm outside. I can avoid contact with foreigners and people from America. If your cousin is from America, just say, hey, I want to say, how are you doing in a space distance? I don't want to get close to you. You can pass your dollar and I will wash it, then I will use it, but I don't want to touch you. Uh, so stay as far as you can from folks from Europe and America because they may be carriers, and try to do whatever you can. That's what I've been telling people back in Africa. And I know in America and Europe, cities and countries are shut down,
Mhm.
and we can't send the money back to Somalia or Africa right now because those services that we used to are shut down
That's
and they're not open. So you have to tell them, hey, I could have sent some money to you to survive if you don't have a job or if you don't have anything.
yeah.
But the services that we use are not open unless you have that apps and electronic options to do that. Uh, And what else can you do? Just being positive with them, just give them hope that everything will be fine. My
Yes.
family is still back in Africa. When I call them, I tell them use niqab. Uh, it is something that we use. You know, the good thing about this is we are already utilizing. We have already been utilizing those guidelines, and that's
Yes.
very very
Very
interesting.
easy for us. Yeah.
Yeah. So using a niqab, if they don't have the mask, I was telling using niqab and try to avoid making contact with
And for
people
the men,
and try to go outside. For the man, they can use the imamah. You know the imamah that we
there is
use.
start.
Our elders usually Somali elders. I don't know about Kenya, but in Somalia they use that to cover their mouth. So it is something that they have been doing already. Just reminding them that will help you avoid coronavirus. Will definitely inspire them.
Okay, Zakaria, what do you
Can
think
I ask?
about the questions that they've been sending in?
I think you guys have answered that, but there's a few things that we're not mentioning. Is the economic impact of all of this? What do we do? How do we live? Right. I think Isaac, he alluded to it a little bit, but utilizing some digital resources. A lot of our businesses that weren't digital necessarily have to be digital now. Like we have to invest time and learning about the digital space and how to still produce revenue for our businesses. For myself even, I had to pivot, where some folks, they're a little bit older than I was, and they wanted to learn a little bit more about the digital space, but they wanted to meet with me in person. I'm like, can't do that anymore, guys. Coffee shops aren't open. We can't meet in person. But what we can do is start utilizing Zoom. So I started training a little bit of my people, how to utilize these different platforms to engage your people still, right? Even aside from business, you can teach yourself a few things. You've got access to Audible. Be able to learn through your ears. Even if you can't order a book, there's YouTube. Be able to teach yourself a few skills. One of my mentors, he was saying to me the other day, if you come out of this time of isolation and you haven't learned new skills, it's useless. What did you do with that time? Were you just Netflixing and chilling? I'm just talking about us in the Western countries. Back home, you guys can talk about that all day. I have no idea.
Okay,
I was raised here,
thank you.
but
Thank you.
yeah.
I was
So
gonna chip.
go ahead, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry.
No, it's all you. Go ahead, bye. I'm done.
Okay, so no, I think I know that we're almost coming to an end, but I was gonna say, I've seen a lot of information going around now that everyone is online in terms of like in preventative measures, I guess, to
Mhm.
avoid having this disease. But really concerned because folks are going beyond what they're supposed to be doing, I guess.
Mhm.
And it just makes me nervous for a lot of people mixing different like essentials and like as far as boosting their immune system. So I would say consult with your doctor. You can call. The nurses are available. Don't take someone else advice on it seems like a lot of people are expert per se in medical
Mhm.
and so I would say people be careful with that because that information is so dangerous if you don't know what you're taking in terms of and what you're mixing so I just wanted to throw that out there because I've seen so many videos people just taking in information as far as like even our president had he mentioned something and there was a gentleman that followed that instruction and as a result died. I don't want to get into that, but it's just it's alarming and it's frustrating that people are putting misleading information about how do you boost your immune system and what you should be doing and the other piece is as far as going out to the grocery store, I know folks are bringing in their own bags and bagging their own groceries. So, and as far as like moving around inside the grocery, I know I've been the main person who's been going to the grocery and picking up produce or whatever it means for the elders and even for my parents. I haven't seen my dad and mom for a while. I would just drop it off by their doorstep. I know it's kind of hard for them the first few times, but they get it, they understand. So yeah, I mean, just making sure that I wipe down the bags and the handle, that's important too. And I tell them, make sure that when you pick it up, wash your hands, clean everything, wipe everything down, because I don't know who touched or sneezed or coughed, because you don't want that residue in your home and you're inhaling it. So that's just my um, addition to this conversation.
Thank you, Naima Dora. I really appreciate that. I mean, we've covered a lot. We've covered where our people back home are so focused on how to survive, and there are people who are so stressed that are here and they have family there. So I like the fact that me and Severina we were able to cover that part and just give them advice. Your safety comes first, then ideas of how to keep a distance. Thank you to Zakaria who mentioned the fact that Kenya. I don't know about the heat part, the fact that it's hot there. I'm not sure how that is gonna work because we really don't know if this disease is stabilized by the heat part or I'm not a medical profession, but I just think we should be safer until we know this is something that it's fine to be out there. Just keep the distance, wash your hands, try to follow the rules as much as you can, so that we're all safe and we're making sure we're saving the rest of the our neighbors and family and the world, by staying home. Ways of shopping. I can literally tell you this for sure, Naima, that I've been going to the grocery shopping. I've been noticing a lot of changes that thanks to the people who are cashiers and everybody else that is doing their best. I've been seeing Target, they're sanitizing the carts. I always have my small sanitizer. I'm cleaning my hands, I'm grabbing the card, I'm going in, I'm doing my grocery, coming back, and I've been seeing they've been distancing the customers 6 feet away from each other, so they're being safe. And then when you get to the register, I've noticed you can use your app, your phone, to pay
Mm-hmm.
other than them touching you. Also, I've noticed you can that you can keep a distance while you're paying. So those are the ideas of getting that. Someone else is
Shukri,
asking
I was
where.
gonna say, yeah, definitely. Please do support your local
Yes.
restaurants and farmers, please.
Hmm.
That is so important, not to cut
Yeah.
you off.
Yeah.
I just wanted to end with that. I know some of the markets will be open,
Hmm.
unless they don't. Please do support.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, involving ourselves as community activists and things like that, we need to make sure that everybody else is kind of playing safe. And I was observing around and I noticed those who are really amazing. Like, hey, you know what, mom, you gotta stay back, and they were not offended. They're like, thank you, because sometimes we forget. We're still in the mode of being before. Like, I'm just gonna go and put my stuff and. So thanks to all the cashiers, thanks to everybody that is risking their life and still serving us who are freaking out, and at the same time we need to have our fridge full of food. I have a Salan in here saying, where is your mask and gloves? um Unfortunately, I'm home. And I think my guests are all home, but let's try to wear a mask if we can. I've noticed in the community people are saying if you're wearing mask, people are scared, they think you are sick. Unfortunately, I don't have to be sick or I don't have coronavirus if I'm wearing a mask. That means that I'm being careful and taking care of myself, and also I am making sure that the person that is standing next to me does not give me the contagious and all those kind of things. So unfortunately, wearing a mask is important. If you have one and you really think that you should, please go ahead, it's safer for yourself. Anybody else in the guest here would like to add any ideas? We don't have to limit this to 4 p.m. If you still have time and want to talk and you have more ideas, please go ahead and share with the community. Safety is the most important thing.
I
Yeah,
think
I just
I'm
want
going.
to say one
Oh,
point
Yeah.
about the grocery. Uh, as Naima mentioned, it is very important when you go out if you can use your bags from home, wash them with soap and water, and depending on what you're buying, when you come home, if you have cans with beans and produce, try to wash them and put them away. I I have seen Dr. Sanjay Gupta from CNN mentioning that if you buy grocery and there is ice cream in your grocery shopping and you put that in the fridge, coronavirus can live and survive in the fridge for a couple years, not
Wow.
months, couple years. So coronavirus does well in cold weather. Uh,
But not in heat.
Not in hot weather. And that's the information CDC put out when they were informing the community about how to avoid uh, or kill the virus. Drinking hot water, tea, and something that's warm will help you if you have the virus. That's what the doctors were saying too. So that's where I came when I mentioned the point about Africa doing well when it comes to coronavirus because of the humid weather. That's what I was talking about. And thank you very much. Thanks for the guests. It's a pleasure to be with you all. I
Thank you.
got my mask. CDC said we should all have and we should wear mask. It saves lives. That's
Mhm.
how Asians survived during the outbreak of this virus. And you should cover your mouth and your face when you're outside because you don't know who you're dealing with.
That is true. That is true. So, how are we doing as a community here in Minnesota, Somali community? How are we doing? Any feedbacks with the social distance, washing hands, covering our faces? How are we doing with that, guys? Any news?
Uh, Shukri, before you do that,
Yeah.
because probably all of you are in Minnesota and I'm in Wichita, Kansas.
Yes.
So I just want us also to tell our audience and everybody back at home or wherever you are, let's check on each other. Let's check on our families. Let's check on our friends. Let's check on our neighbors because we, like right now, we don't know what is happening.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I've like a week ago, I emailed a friend of mine who is in New York. She hasn't replied me up to now, and I'm kind of worried. And I'm just praying that she's fine, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And right now, you don't know who is fine and who is not fine. So it's very good that it will be a blessing if we check on each other, pray for your friends, call them. If you have their emails, email them, and just like, just check on each other because this is this is dangerous. If we don't do that, and maybe later on after all this has toned down and everything is over, you kind of try to ask where is so and so, and you'll be like, she's gone 2 months ago,
Yeah.
and that will be really sad. So it's good that we check on each other. Let's check on our friends. Let's check on our family members, and pray for each other that all these things will be
Thank
over.
you. Thank you,
Yes.
Severina. Thank you.
Mhm.
Zakaria, do you have any addition ideas of you, our Somali community here in Minnesota? How are they doing?
Honestly, I have no idea what's happening over in outside of the suburbs. Suburbs, we're not going to the masjids. That's a fact. So right now, I think a lot of us are just staying at home, checking up on each other, like the sister was saying, just utilizing these digital platforms to engage each other, have these chat rooms, being able to share information with each other. I think that's key. Um, the kids is a tough part. A lot of kids at home, big families. It's very hard now. We're being forced to actually deal with each other. um Unfortunately, there's a lot of bad news, good news. Some domestic abuse. I heard that that's going through the roof right now because people
Oh,
are actually now forced to face each other. We may not know how to communicate effectively.
yes.
With conflict. This whole thing is very, very stressful because people are sick. They don't know what to do, so it's up to us as leaders to reach out.
Mhm.
not just on your platform, but each individual's platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, wherever you can. Just let people know that somebody cares. That you don't have to
Yes.
suffer in silence, like Isaac was saying earlier. Our mental health is very, very important. I think right now more than ever before. Um, but again, it's just it's helping each other get through this. So don't go to the masjids. If your masjid is not closed, like, they should be closed. We don't want, obviously, people to feel like, okay, well, your deen's not important. It is important. It's very, very important. Back in the prophet's day, peace be upon him, we didn't we didn't have some of the resources that we have. I'm sorry, they didn't have some of the resources that we have right now.
Mhm.
They would have done better. A lot of people's lives were lost unnecessarily because, again, we weren't practicing social distancing. We weren't saying, hey, masjid closed. We cannot afford to have you come to the masjid and spread it further. So, with all that said, I think a lot of what's going on here in the suburbs, I don't know what's going on in Minneapolis and St. Paul. What's going on here is just people distancing themselves for other neighbors, but at the same time, because we're isolated doesn't mean we have to be disconnected, right? Still
Mhm.
stay in contact.
Mhm.
Reach out as much as you possibly can. So that's my last two words.
Thank
I appreciate you, Shukri. Thank you so much for having all of us on.
you. Yeah.
I will have to drop off here in a little bit. I've got a client call. But
Sure.
thank you guys all very much. I want to connect with each and one of you, but I do encourage every single person to start reaching out via digital. Figure out how to get yourself in front of as many people as possible. Educate, let them know that there is somebody there. We need to become more vulnerable,
Mhm.
to each other. Everybody's going through this. It's not
Sounds
just the
great.
sick people. Yeah. So anyway,
All right. Thank you,
thank you very
Zachariah.
much.
Yeah, you're welcome. You have a great day, Zach. So that's Zachariah. He gave us an idea of how, even if you're social distancing, you do not have to avoid communicating with your friends, your family. Use digital. Also, you can do FaceTiming. You can do Skyping. You can do all those kind of things that you have options. I call my friends. We keep in touch. I will be cooking, and I will have someone Skyping with me, and we do all those kind of things. So kind of keep that going on. What you guys can do also, I know Isaac Roble is still there. That I was asking him what kind of packs we can go to a couple of days ago, and to be walking, and he mentioned Lake Cahoon is parked, and I freaked out, and I was like, I'm not gonna go where people are parked. So I decided to go to the Como, and I noticed a lot of people walking 6 feet distance. So that was very, very good. So if you can go for a walk, but just keep your distance, have your mask on, have your sanitizer, and keep going. So Zachary left, I think, and Isaac, what do you think about that? Lake Ahun being packed and a lot of people getting together and still walking.
That was really unfortunate. I went up there and I've seen it was 7 o'clock in the morning. There was over 300 or 400 people running around and vehicles parked back to back. People are so close to each other. You are crossing uh, on the opposite side. So if somebody is walking here and they sneeze, the virus is coming to you, and if you don't have a cover, if you don't have a face cover. So although people are exercising, a little sneezing, breathing can really bring it to you. And again, we don't know who has the virus, who doesn't. Assume that everybody got the virus and avoid them for your own health. As far as the Somali community, I think we are doing good. We talk about coronavirus, COVID-19 in different ways. A lot of us are angry about the situation. A lot of us are really worried and stressed. But we talk about it. We accept. There is a graph that you don't like what's happening. You're mad, and then you accept the reality. Then you
Yeah.
have to find the options of living with it.
Yeah.
So we are in a different stage. Some people are in that stage. I started getting ready for this situation in February, mid of February. I had masks, and people made fun of that and said, "Oh, you are over exaggerating. You are making this issue big deal. And now I've been receiving messages, people asking me, Isaac, can you give me one mask? Do you have a mask? I give away as many masks as I can.
Yeah,
I'm waiting a sewing machine and a 3D printer to make masks and give it away to people.
that's nice.
So hopefully that stuff will come. I ordered from Amazon, and if somebody needs a mask, when I have this stuff here, I am home all the time, Monday through Friday. I will make this stuff, and I will give it away.
Thank
Hopefully,
you.
but our
Thank you.
community are well informed. They know what's happening.
Yeah, thank you so much, Isaac. And Naima, are you still there?
I am. Sorry, I had to mute myself.
It's okay. What do you think about our community? How are they doing in our Somali community, safety
You
wise?
have to repeat that. I didn't hear you.
How are we doing safety wise in our community here?
I since we were ordered to stay home, my engagement decreased, so I'm not really sure other than what I see on social media.
Okay.
I know that I've been out and about mainly to do grocery shopping, and now in the next few weeks I will be at the garden growing food. So even with that, I'm sharing that space with other people, and so we're having our discussion this morning. How do we practice social distancing? That we're very close in a very close environment. So, again, it's just making it work with what you have and what you're able to do.
Good.
And also reaching out. It's okay. It's okay to say, I don't have the answers. I know that with homeschooling is something that I dreamed for my children, and actually doing it and in the reality, it's a lot of work. And then on top of that work, and I'm in school and trying to do this garden, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So we might not follow everything that is thrown at us tradition wise to do this thing online as far as the education component. But we're just gonna take it day by day. I know that we're resuming back to school on Monday. And honestly, I just want to make sure that my kids have the tools that they need in survival if this or something similar like this happens again in the future. So that means, how do they grow their own food? How do they cook?
Mhm.
How do they, connect with the community? How do they reach out? How do they support?
Mhm.
So just the survival and basic needs covered.
Well, thank you so much, Naima. So, what I know about the following question that I was asking, I know all the Somali mall have been closed. I know the grocery Somali restaurants are closed, but they're only open for takeout, and which is really good. They're accepting the fact and they're really following the protocols of being safety. I've noticed they're all wearing gloves. I've been going around and checking in and just making sure that we're all safe. I've noticed one of the restaurant in Chicago, which is a very famous restaurant called Cairo Grill. They have been allowing only up to 4 people inside by getting the sambusa and bur, and that shows us how they have realized this is bad. So I'm really.
I was gonna say, I was doing a takeout, and for those, I know there's a lot of what do you call it, those Uber Eat, those drivers.
Mhm.
There's a lot of folks doing that in our community. Oh, I hope that they're able to not only follow what the instructions the restaurants are telling, because a lot of these coffee shops and restaurants have signs
Mhm.
of what their policy is.
Mhm.
And so I've seen a lot of folks picking up food, and they were so close to each other, and it's
Oh.
like it's not my place to say something to them, but they're my brothers and sisters. So I had one conversation with a young man, and I said, you got to be careful, because I know you got to do to survive. You're
Mhm.
working and all, but
Mhm.
you're so close to everyone. And so,
So
I just wanted to throw out there that
yeah,
those that are driving,
gotta
to be
keep it.
mindful of, their
Yeah.
surroundings.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Naima, for adding that to the people who are doing Uber delivery and things like that. So we have to focus on the social distance, and I think they improved from the beginning for what was happening before. So I am really excited to say that our community are doing way, way, way better than when it started, and I'm honored for that. And thanks so much for everyone that had time to join us here. Next weekend we will have another guest, and we will gather their idea and thoughts on what they think of the community, how is Keratin treating them, and tell us their story. And we're gonna keep going like that. And please, guys, join us and send in your questions just as much as Hassan, Salan, and Abdi were sending in their questions. We all have concerns. We all want to hear people's thought. We want to hear your ideas. We want to hear your perspective way of how you're handling things. We just want to hear how we can all copy in and share our thoughts. Like Naima was telling us, she's a farmer, she's still doing it, but she's keeping the distance. Isaac Robele, I advising people, and how to make sure they wear a mask even if they're not. Zakaria, digital is important, and being safe. Serena, Severina covering the topic in Africa, that to be safer, and elderly to be more calm in understanding the situations that we're having, that we will all come to an end to this. We have to pray, we have to focus on ourselves and try to keep the social distance, and also make sure that you eat healthy at home. That is my number one thing, because I know it's like less than a distance from the kitchen and the living room. It's like going back in and eating and eating and eating. Let's keep our healthy. Just because coronavirus has turned us inside does not mean we become gaining weight and all that unhealthy food that we're eating every time. We can level that and change our habit of eating, and we're all adults, we should know how to take care of ourselves. So before I end Dose of Reality with my guest here, I would like to thank you guys. Is there any last thing you would like to add?
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome, Naima. Thank you. Severina?
Uh, Thank you so much for having us, and stay safe.
Yeah.
And everybody should stay at home, and let's check on each other.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Severina. Isaac,
You're
are
welcome.
you there?
Yes, yes, I'm still here.
All right.
Uh, Thank you very much. I appreciate your time and your effort to put this
Thank you.
together. And it is a pleasure to connect with other folks.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe. Enjoy your time.
All
It's
right.
beautiful outside.
All right. Thank you, guys. Let's go for a walk. You keep your distance. I just wanted to say thank you, Valerie, for taking your time and going to the studio to do the usual. I really appreciate everyone that was sending in the questions, that were joining us. Asalama, take care, and keep in touch next Saturday, same time. Have a great day. Bye. Dose of Reality.